Hey guys, Disloader Magic here, and you might have heard some rumblings on the internet that I'm working on a super deck that beats absolutely everything in the standard meta and pretty much everything in general. Well, here it is, and I'm sure those accounts have not been exaggerated by that one Disloader Magic guy at all. But seriously, I do have a win rate of about 90% in about 50 games with this online, so yeah, it pretty much does beat everything. I mean, I don't know if it's just people don't see it coming or I don't know. And those are all no sideboard matches, and this sideboard is devastating. Now, this does lose to three very distinct deck types, but they're so left field, except for one of them, that you don't really have to worry unless everybody in your area is playing it, in which case I would not play this. So it's black-white, and I call it the Splosions deck because I couldn't think of a better name. I was going to call it Exploding Cats, but that's already taken and probably copyrighted. So we got Concealed Courtyard, obviously, Forsaken Sanctuary because we need better fixing than that. Swamps, Evolving Wilds, and Plains. We just needed better fixing, so I threw into Evolving Wilds. You don't really necessarily need the mana when you need it either, or when you draw it, so Evolving Wilds isn't the end of the world. So what does this deck do? Well, it wipes the board and either prevents your creatures from going with it or brings them back either the same that they were before or even better. So really simple, and looking at it, you probably think, well, this won't work. This can't possibly work. Did I not just say what my win rate was? People are mad about this deck already. They're just like, how could you play something like that? Well, that's what I have to say about two of the decks in the meta right now, so this is just revenge. And I built this specifically to beat merfolk, because screw merfolk, I hate them. So we've got, let's just go creatures first. Dread Wanderer, it enters battlefield tap, that's a shame, but it's not like it has haste, and it's 2-1 for 1, so early game threat, I love it. And then if you pay 3, you can return it from your graveyard directly to the battlefield, not your hand. Only sorcery speed, and only if you have one or fewer cards in hand, but that's fine. It's just guaranteed damage. I mean, this guy's going to be coming at you all game. Next up, we got Sacred Cat. This can be brought back one time with Embalm, and for 1 white mana, which is pretty cool, and has lifelink. So it's just nice little chump blocker, just sack target or whatever. Then we got a Dorn Pouncer. I love this one because it's kind of like a 2-1 for 2 because of double strike. But if you eternalize it for a pretty reasonable price, which is 5, comes back as a 4-4. So that's 8 damage right there. I mean, that's crazy. Next up, Bantu the Glorified, Menace and Indestructible. So those 3 come back from the graveyard. This one just never goes there in the first place. Can't attack or block unless a creature died under your control this turn. That is annoying, and that's why there's only 2. But you can pay 2 and sacrifice another creature, scry 1. Each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So you can actually use this to just purposely put in a Dorn Pouncer in the graveyard because you've got the mana to bring it back bigger and badder. Do it during second main phase, and you've got a non-summoning sickness 4-4 double striker the next turn. Pretty nice. I love it. Plus, it would allow a 4-6 Menace Indestructible creature to swing. And a lot of these have Menace, which is kind of nice, especially Dream Stealer. Love it. So if they don't have much left because you keep blowing it up, yeah, Menace is pretty good. Whenever this deals combat damage to a player, they discard that many, which is hilarious, especially when it comes back for 6, which is a little steep, but you get there, and he's a 4-4, so they have to discard 4 cards. I mean, with Menace, they couldn't block it even if they wanted to, and if they double block it, wonderful. Who cares? It's a 4-4. Then we got Yeheni. Pretty obvious to include because you're going to destroy the opponent's creatures a lot, and then all you have to do to make him survive a board wipe is sack another creature that you control. Which is fine because, I mean, like, you're going to wipe the board anyway, so it ain't gonna exactly come back. Haha, just kidding, that's what they do. But yeah, you can sack one of these and immediately bring it back. Usually it's pretty easy. And then this guy has haste too, so you could bring him out, sack something, make him indestructible, board wipe on top of it, and then swing for like 8 just immediately. I mean, this guy's absolutely bonkers. Now, there's only 3 because, well, we needed a higher volume of board wipes, and we needed cheaper creatures, and he's legendary, so 3 strikes are out. And then we got, I guess, Cataclysmic. This is the last creature, but it's basically a creature and a board wipe. So why not? I thought, and it's like $3 too. I mean, everything in this deck is not what I would call like cheap, but it's not really expensive either. I think this whole deck can get done for under like $50 or $60, so it's not too bad, I guess. And a lot of these are really old cards, so you probably have them. But this is a 4-5 with Vigilance, so I mean that's kind of nice, a blocker and a attacker. And then when he enters battlefield, you guys know what it does. Same as the card Cataclysm, actually. That's what it was based on. So each player, you included, chooses an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, and planeswalker to keep and then sacks the rest. And none of your creatures will survive this unless you choose them because it bypasses indestructible, obviously. But you could choose the cat, or not choose the sacred cat, and then just bring it back for 1 immediately. I mean, this does work. This deck really does work pretty well together. So 4 damage is not bad if you're swinging unopposed. I mean, that's, 5 hits and they're dead if they're at full health, which they never are. So let's go to the board wipes. Let's go reverse order because I feel like I'm having some fun. Fumigate, you get 1 life for everything that blew up. I mean, that's awesome. Against fast decks, this is a little expensive, which is why there's only 3. But you can have what they call a balanced sideboard or leveler sideboard, which is, put 1 Fumigate in the sideboard, and then if they're running like a slow build-up deck that doesn't rush, Fumigate. Why not? So then we got Settle the Wreckage. You guys probably know what this one does. It's absolutely famous. Most expensive card in the deck too, by the way. I think it's like $5-6 a piece, but whatever. Exile all attacking creatures. They get to go get a land out of their deck and put it on the battlefield for each creature that was exiled this way. So, oh well. Gets around anything. Hexproof, indestructible, whatever. Doesn't matter. They're gone. I just put in 3 because of cost and the double white. Bantu's is just better. But then, okay, we got a little separate thing here. I'm going to pause on the board wipes. Torment of Scarabs, okay? This is not removed by a board wipe, including Cataclysmic, because this is considered to be on your battlefield. So you would just say, okay, keep this enchantment, because remember, it says enchantment. So you guys know what it does at this point, hopefully, but in case you don't, at the beginning of every single upkeep for the opponent that you attach this to, they lose 3 life unless they sacrifice a non-land permanent or discard a card. Well, they're not going to have any non-land permanents after you wipe the board unless it's something stupid. And they can only discard so many cards because they have to come back from you wiping the board. So they're usually just going to take 3 damage. So in a typical game, this will do more damage than any of the creatures in the deck. So why not? And once this hits the field, you can play completely differently. Just as slow as possible. You don't have to get aggressive with your creatures and overswing and then take a counter swing. Cross your fingers and hope for a board wipe. None of that. So speaking of crossing your fingers and hoping for a board wipe, we've got Bantu's Last Reckoning. Fantastic. 3-cost board wipe. This is just straight up speed. I mean, if this is late game, they probably have next to no cards in hand, mostly because of Dreamstealer, honestly, and Torment. But, you won't need the mana, so why not pay 3? And the other thing is, okay, wipe the board, and then with your remaining mana late game, bring back an Adorn, bring back a Sacred, bring back a Dread Wanderer. Whatever. I mean, it'd bring back Dreamstealer. It doesn't really matter. Can't bring back Cataclysmic or Yanni, but that's about it. You can bring back everything else in the deck. Oh, except for Bantu. But she had it coming. So, I really do like this card just because, you don't get your lands back, but it's so early that this would just shut down Red Rush. It would just be utterly dead. Because what are they going to do to stop it, honestly? Then we've got Slaughter the Strong. I'm not even going to read what this card says because it's so stupidly misleading, but basically, each player sacrifices down to 4 power simultaneously. Well, not the player simultaneously, but here's what it means. Okay, so if they have that one vampire out that says all of the vampires get +1/+1, they can't just sack and reassess, choose one and reassess. It's actually backwards. They have to immediately choose what they keep, not exceeding 4 total power, and then after that, sacrifice the rest. Just boom, 1, 2. So if they killed off the one that boosts them all and said, oh, now this isn't a 4/4 vampire, it's a 3/3, it doesn't work that way. You choose them all at once, sacrifice them all at once, and you cannot leave more than 4 power as it sits on the battlefield. So if they have more creatures than you, great, and you're probably not going to have more than 4 power, and if you do, you could probably bring it back. So Bantu just happens to be 4 power. Cataclysmic just happens to be 4 power. This comes back as a 4/4, and this comes back as a 4/4. Oh, that's fun. So Slaughter the Strong, you should almost definitely put 2 of them in your sideboard in case they're running creatures that either get big, they get counters, or they get tons of boosting. Because if every creature they own is above 5, they actually have to sacrifice all of them, which is hilarious. I mean, after you play this, you are guaranteed to come back faster than they are. And that's the whole deck. So you might look at it and think, well, that'll never work. I mean, it's just, you never get this long term, or by turn 10, you'll be burnt out. No, trust me, this works. As long as you're smart about your mulligan decisions, this will nuke the living balls out of creatures. So this is built specifically to beat merfolk, but it does beat pretty much any other tribal. And it obviously loses to Approach of the Second Sun, because it does nothing to stop it, which is where the sideboard comes in. Also, loses to an all planeswalker deck, as if anybody's playing that. And I don't know, it's pretty good against Red Rush, but I've noticed it loses to anything that runs like Revolt heavy, or creatures that keep coming out of the graveyard over and over and over. So not really a mirror match, but something kind of similar-ish. And it does play around control pretty well, like some kind of weird pin down, okay, whatever, but you could still have your Adorn Pouncer get pinned down and then send to the graveyard and resurrect it, whatever, not a big deal. But if you do want to beat Approach of the Second Sun, we got Lost Legacy, name a non-artifact non-land card. I was gonna say Lost Legacy. Approach of the Second Sun. Search target player's graveyard, hand, and library for any number of cards with that name and exile them. And basically play this, name the card they forfeit is how that works. So, and they get to draw a card for each card exiled this way. Whatever. If they wanted to draw out the game that far, they're a dick. Then we got Gideon's Intervention. You name a card, it can't be cast. Real simple. And then you prevent all damage that would be dealt to you and permanents you control by sources with the chosen name. So creatures that are impossible to get rid of, like, for example, the Scorpion, or is it Scorpion God? Scarab God, I think. Yeah, Scarab God. Well, any of the new gods, they're all very obnoxious. This will do it. They can no longer damage you. So there you go. I'm not sure about the phrasing on that other one. I'd have to read it, but it is what it is. And then we got a Planeswalker Killer. Return is cool too. And then Dispossess. It gets rid of artifacts in case you're playing against, I don't know. What is that stupid deck that nobody plays? God Pharaoh's Gift. That's what it is. Honestly, I would remove Dispossess and just put in like 1 Fumigate and 2 Slaughters, just for balancing, just a leveler sideboard. So I know people are going to look at this deck list and say, there's no way in hell that this works. I don't believe you. Jump on Xmage and verse me, or just watch the gameplay footage, which is coming very shortly. I assure you, this deck almost cannot be beaten, and certainly not by creatures, unless those creatures can survive board wipes too, because then their deck's probably just better than this one. I mean, this one's a little janky, but it is what it is, and it beats Merfolk, and I'm happy. So, and I should probably talk about the cost. I mean, I think Cataclysmic's like $2, Fumigate's like $4, Torment's like $2 maybe, or actually I think that's under $1 now. Settles are pretty expensive. There's only 3 though, but they're probably about $5. Bantu's last, it's like $3 probably, maybe $4. Bantu herself, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure what that one. Maybe $2-3. Can't be that much. I mean, it's not very good. Dream Stealers are actually like pretty cheap, surprisingly, because they're really good, but I guess nobody plays them. It's kind of weird. But they're still like $1 to $2. I mean, everything in this deck is like really good. That's why it's not like, just 25 and 50-cent cards. Slaughter, I don't think is above $1. Yahenni was expensive. Now he's not. Maybe $2-3 a piece, I think. Dorton Pouncer, I mean, it was the game day promo, so I think these are about $1.50 maybe. Sacred is nothing. Dread's not much. Maybe $1.50, $2. Concealed Courtyards are pretty expensive, though. I think they're like $5 or $6 a piece. So I don't know. What does that add up to? $50-$60 maybe? And you probably have a lot of these cards already. The settles are going to get you, but they're pretty important. So, I mean, you're not putting in $25 cards, I guess. It's not exactly budget, but it kind of is. I mean, it depends upon what you consider budget. If you say, hey, I can only afford a $30 deck or a $20 deck, then that's perfectly fine. I mean, that's not everybody has, limitless money to dump into a hobby, of course. But if you're like, oh, man, I'm used to building $100 decks, just if I need a good, 4 of, and it's $10, whatever, throw it in, then this is going to be a refreshing change and a lot cheaper. Watch for the gameplay footage, and I'll see you guys next video.